mean, and even if you're not a mom, like I just think if you have one life, if there's something that bothers you and there's a way to address it, then why not? For a lot of people, there is that hesitation, like, oh, am I indulging too much in, myself or my own desires in taking this plunge and doing a cosmetic surgery? I had had my breast implants at that point for 11 years. And so I knew that it was probably for the best for me to look. I was even considering, just removing them completely, but I chickened out on that part. And my first child, I had what ended up being an emergency C-section, and the scar was really high. So even though I was relatively lean, especially, going through a traumatic divorce and stuff, I'd lost a lot of weight, but inadvertently, but I could still not feel comfortable in a two-piece swimsuit.
Today on Pop Podcast, we have a Dupont Award winner on a subject that we're definitely going to dig into. To Houston influencer extraordinaire, going into motherhood and having an amazing mommy makeover, Keli Rabon out of Houston, Texas. Thank you so much, Keli, for being here on Pop Podcast. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much. I feel like it's been a while in the making, so I'm so glad to be included with. So thank you so much.
Well, I can't wait to jump into this because even when we were just preparing for this episode, I learned something new about you I did not even know. So I'd love you to share like your history and about your investigative journalism and how did you win that Dupont Award? I mean, that's a big thing. Just so y'all know, okay? I just found this out too. So if you don't know, don't feel bad because I just found out. It is like the equivalent of a Pulitzer Prize. That's for written word. The Dupont is for spoken word, and your girl is an award winner, okay? So take your picture. But tell me about that.
Thank you. No, I feel like I was put on this world to do investigative reporting. And even though I'm not doing it, anymore right now, I still will always have that many investigative bones in my body. But for 12 years, I worked as an investigative journalist in TV stations all across the United States, starting right after Hurricane Katrina in South Mississippi, Biloxi, Pascagoula, moved up to Memphis, Tennessee. I was in Austin, Texas. I was in Denver, Colorado, and then in Houston, Texas. But along the way, I started digging into untested rape kits. So it started when I was in Memphis, and I thought, sadly, Memphis was known, at least at the time, as like the murder capital of the country. But I thought, okay, there's so much attention that goes towards that. What could be overlooked? Most likely crimes against women. And, even though rape is not just exclusive to females, of course, the numbers show that they are the ones who are, most often victimized. So long story long, I started looking at rape kits and see how many times they were actually tested versus just left there on the shelves to collect dust, or maybe even worse, to be destroyed accidentally or, for reasons unknown. So it turned out in Memphis, there were 15,000 untested rape kits just in the city of Memphis. It took a while for me to get to that. And of course, the police came after me hard because, what could this 25-year-old little blonde girl know about policing, right?
Right.
But, there they've identified over 100 serial offenders and just not just limited to Memphis, but across the country, right? And then I did the stories again when I was in Denver and changed the laws there to require rape kit testing for all kits across the state that had ever been collected by police and all moving forward. Taught reporters across the country how to do these stories. And have made an impact that will long outlive me.
Yeah.
Which I think is like the greatest accomplishment in the world.
So I want to go back a little bit. What you're saying is untested rape kits. That means that these women were abused and then they take the brave step to telling someone about it,
Yep.
going to the hospital, thank God I've never gone through it, but I've watched plenty of SUV,
CSI, yes, and
CSI
SUV, yes.
and all that. SW, I don't know. I was going to say SWV, but
I know
all of
SWV
that.
too.
So you go through that and it's scary, right? And they have the kids, and are you saying they were just doing nothing with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the experience of even getting that exam, it's so invasive, it could almost feel like a second assault. It's terrible after already being in such a delicate emotional and physical state to begin with. But they were taking that brave step, which, I mean, really represents such a small percentage of sexual assaults out there that happen. But they were taking that brave step, giving that evidence with hopes that it would help their case, right? Whether the offender was known to them or a random person. And essentially, police were just saying like, well, you probably just had too much to drink, or you just regretted your decision, or yeah, we'll go work the case. But then they just weren't. Wow. It was literally victim blaming, victim non-believing, time and time and time again. And what we ultimately found was that serial offenders, I mean, whether you offend once or you offend 100 times, at the end of the day, it's not right. But so many people were getting away with it. There were no repercussions.
So why would they stop if they're just getting away with it? It's like
exactly. Yeah.
So tell me about the law changing thing. You left that part out.
I mean, that's only one example of a law that I've changed. Yeah, I've changed a bunch of laws, like everything from baby stealing to house stealing to rape kit testing. Like, I mean, I could go down the list of things.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, yeah, I was very blessed and fortunate to be able to do the work that I've done in, different parts of the country, and to be able to make like the ultimate lasting impact.
Yeah, I mean, that impact is going to last for a lifetime. I'm sure there's somebody watching right now. This is one of the reasons I chose the YouTube podcast, is because, YouTube is evergreen. It lives forever. So I know someone's going to be watching this and being like, that law helped me. And I'm just so honored that I get to talk to you.
That gives me chills.
I knew that you were amazing, but goodness.
Thank you. It's so cool. I mean, now that I'm in the Instagram, social media world, it's amazing that I do still have people who reach out to me from back in the day, from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, who remember me and doing impactful stories. Even police who would have been like on the opposite side of the stories that I was doing, who will reach out and say thank you for your bravery and the work that you did, because it was, those were stories that needed to be told and things that needed to change. And without you sticking your neck out, it wouldn't have happened. So,
well, what I love the most is, obviously you're gorgeous, but to know that you have advocated for people who can't advocate for themselves, that's something I'm very passionate about. And
definitely,
I just love that about you even more.
Thank you. Giving a voice to the voiceless. It's the reason I was put on this earth.
Yes, that's why we get along. I'm with you on that big time. So how did you get into influencing? How did you go from, changing laws? And it's so crazy. The first person I think of changing laws is like Paris Hilton and like Reese Witherspoon, Legally Blonde. I was like, no, now the first person I'm going to think about is Keli. So how did you go from that to like getting into influencing? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, now it's been a solid 5 years. So I had I tinkered around with it a little bit in my mind. I'd left the TV news business because unfortunately it's just, at least, in Houston, but generally across the country, it's not what it used to be. There's less time and resources, so they say, to dedicate to investigations, to in-depth reporting, which, side note, is very ironic considering how people love to binge watch series on all the streaming platforms and binge podcasts on all the streaming platforms. It's like, obviously there is a huge appetite for in-depth work.
Especially for investigation, because that's
Mhm.
probably the only thing that I can binge is
Yeah,
crime
yeah.
documentaries and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah. But local TV just hadn't caught up to that. And so I felt like I'm not going to continue to, sadly, use my talents or, waste my talents in a platform where they just want me to be on TV and be, a cute girl every day.
Right.
It's just not for me, right? I need to have substance. And
Yeah.
so I left that, became a stay-at-home mom, and then I had my first. I felt like I had lost my identity. I was definitely in an identity crisis phase because people would say, especially my former TV folks would say, must be so nice being just a mom. And to me, that was nailed on the chalkboard every single time that I would hear that. And I felt, of course, conflicted, right, for having that feeling because it's such a blessing to be a mother. But whenever they would say just a mom, it's like,
Yeah, shoot me.
So,
I love my babies. Don't get me wrong. I love them to death, but I feel you on that. We're more than just
we
moms.
are complex. We are, multifaceted, and we have many talents. It's just a matter of using them in the right way. So I bought actually my first website domain, and you're going to get a kick out of what it was. It still is. I still own the domain. Snoop Mommy Mom. I can't give it up because it's so good.
Yes.
It's me, Snoop Mommy Mom.
Yes, girl, is it alive right now? Are you still on merch on there?
I still own the site. I think it may forward to KeliRabon.com, but so I still have it. But I thought maybe I could go and do like kind of parenting-esque, family-esque, like investigations of, faulty products and things like that, because there's a whole lot of that stuff out there. But
yeah.
So then I had my second kid and
decided, Snoop, like Snoop. Okay, yeah, I got
Snoop,
it.
Mommy, Mom.
I got it, like snooping around.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
So it's like Snoop, like investigative, and Snoop Dogs, but it's Snoop Mommy Mom. Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right, I got it, girl. I was going off. I was like, girl, what does Keli got to do with Snoop Doggy Dog?
Snoop Mommy Mom.
But it's Snoop, like investigative. I got it. I got it. I thought of Snoopy the dog and okay, got it.
But I ended up just using my name. I was like, okay, we've got, stock in the name. So it's me regardless. So that seems like, worth it for the long haul. Anyway, I just started randomly taking pictures in my backyard or front yard on the tripod, and just thought I needed a creative outlet for me. And, people would always ask me for advice about things or outfits or beauty regimen or how I curl my hair. And so I thought, well, let's just give this a whirl. It doesn't matter if it's just me speaking to me. It's giving me something to do every day besides just being a mom. So yeah, that's where it all started. That was the long story of where it all started.
No, I love that. And it's funny because I remember when we did a post together, like even though the subject was supposed to be one thing, everybody just wanted to know where you got that bikini from.
Right.
I was like, that bikini is cute though.
What can I say?
Yeah. But that's what influence is. So what would you say was the first like kind of photo or the first kind of brand that solidified that, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Because it was fun and it could have just been for you, but like what made you say, all right, I'm going to own this. I'm an influencer now.
I would say relatively early on, I got a great partnership with HP.
The computer, right?
The laptop. Yeah, the computer company. Okay. And that was one of my first big deals. I'm trying to think. Gosh, there's been so many random things over time. Oh, the very first one, I'll tell you, this one was really special to me because it was so shortly after, we'll say like 9 months after I had, officially started my business and was like, okay, influencing, I'm going to see where this takes me. I got a deal with this company called KiwiCo. But right before that, my now ex-husband and I had split. And so at that point, I really needed to double down on this work, because I'm thinking, like, how am I going to provide for myself and my kids? Since, I can't rely on him anymore. And so, yeah, I will always remember the KiwiCo deal, negotiating that myself. And I had to have my kids in the content. And so KiwiCo, for anyone who doesn't know, that they will like ship you these boxes and based on it, they're based on your child's age. And it's crafts and a little book, and it's a whole lot of fun. But yeah, I had my mom come over and help me shoot this KiwiCo campaign. And all I could do is think to myself, like, okay, we got to make this work. We got to knock this out of the park, because Mama's got to make some money. And we already loved the brand and had used the brand for like at least a year. And so it just felt like a very organic and important partnership.
Yeah. And it was like your solidification to being on your own. I know how that like separations can be. And I was single mom with Isabella for like 4 years. And so it's always about like making sure that they have everything they need, and still, having like everything I need too, right?
Yeah.
So you have 2 kids, right?
Yes, they're 5 and 7, both boys. They are awesome. And they're a lot.
Yeah. I just had, my boy is turning 1 year old, and I've had a very calm, angelic girl for 8 years. And then this boy comes along, and it's just like, it's not like I want to bang you in the head. I don't want to kiss you, be sweet and romantic. It's like,
I can't tell you actually how many times, even my youngest son, he seems to be the one who's always doing it, but he'll come and run and jump up to hug me. I mean, and if I'm surprised I haven't knocked a tooth out yet, because he comes in full force. But it's like the way that they're rough and tumble, but they love their mama. So
yeah. So how old were they when you had your mommy makeover? But first, how old were they when you decided, okay, I'm going to have my mommy makeover? And what exactly did you get done?
Oh gosh. Okay. So my first Mother's Day after having just one of the first, it was a Mother's Day. Maybe it was before, I'll tell you what it was. It was before having Brock, my 5-year-old, but I'd already had Brayden. My ex-husband had given me a card. This was my Mother's Day gift, a card that was written, and it said, "This card entitles you to a mommy makeover. Like, we love you." Okay, this. I mean, I don't think I'd really thought about it before that, but apparently he thought that I needed it. And thought that it was going to be a generous gift, but really, I mean, it wasn't even worth the paper that it was printed on, sadly.
Oh my gosh. But did you cash it in or?
Oh, I tried. Even after we were divorced, I was like, "Hey, look, I still got this card. I'm ready to cash in." And he's like, "It's no longer valid." So anyway, so fine, I'm going to go get it done myself.
So this was how old was Brock when you
Brock was probably about 2 years old, 3 years old. Maybe it was 2 years old when I first had said, "Hey, I'm ready for you to cash that in."
And how did you?
We'd already been divorced. We'd already been divorced for over a year at that point. So, yeah, I mean, I knew he wasn't going to say yes, but I still had to like get a little dig in there. You know how it is.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you're going to put it on some paper, I mean,
yeah, if that's going to be my gift, you can't rescind the gift.
Right. Cash up.
But yes, but so I kind of kicked it around in my mind for a good year after that. Did a lot of research online, and started following a lot of surgeons in the Houston area. Talked to friends who had their surgeries done, even though they lived in Houston, had gone elsewhere, just to understand the options. And, it's like, all right, if I'm going to be investing in this, then I need to make sure that I'm picking the right person, that I see before and afters that look similar to me. But these days you can't even really rely on just what pictures and even videos,
right?
That you see online. Yeah. So it just takes, and read a ton of reviews. Yeah. And so just really started doing my research. And then the following year, I guess, so sometime when Brock was maybe 3, got pretty serious about it and started doing consults. And at that time, so Brock was 3 and Braden would have been 5.
So what procedures were you looking at getting done as you were researching? And, you're an investigative, reporter. So I know you were digging deep, girl.
Absolutely.
What kind of procedures were you looking at?
So I had, with my first child, I had what ended up being an emergency C-section, and the scar was really high. So even though I was relatively lean, especially, going through a traumatic divorce and stuff, I'd lost a lot of weight, but inadvertently, but I could still not feel comfortable in a 2-piece swimsuit. It just bothered me how, and even my girlfriends would kindly comment on, gosh, I just can't believe your C-section scar is so high.
Yeah.
And so it's like, not only do you get, kind of a complex from what you think like guys might think, but when even your girlfriends are asking you about it, it's like, okay, I probably need to look into that. What are my options?
Girl, in Houston, they don't hold back in Houston, girl.
They don't. They're just going to tell it like it is, which is fine. Exactly. We don't have time to waste,
Yes, exactly. So that's good.
So, yeah. And then I had my breast implants at that point for 11 years. And so I knew that it was probably for the best for me to look. I was even considering, just removing them completely, but I chickened out on that part and, went all in. And
well, they look natural. So doesn't that count?
Thanks. Oh, it totally does. People will tell me, they're like, Keli, you've got the magic boobs, because sometimes you don't look like you have implants, and then sometimes you do. It's like you can turn them on and turn them off when you need to.
Snoop mommy mom got the magic boobs.
That's it. But yeah, so I knew that I wanted to do, those 2 things for sure, but then was also kind of interested in, well, if we're doing all that, should we look into lipo, while we're already getting after it. And so so I ended up doing some of that. And it's just like, I didn't have any shame when it came to making the decision. I think for a lot of people, there is that hesitation, like, oh, am I indulging too much in, myself or my own desires in taking this plunge and doing a cosmetic surgery, doing a mommy makeover. And, I think perhaps I might have thought about that in terms of financially, but when it came to like cosmetically, I thought, you know what? I get one life. I have given my body, now twice, and it's time to do something for me. And even if you're not a mom, like, I just think if you have one life, if there's something that bothers you and there's a way to address it, then why not?
Absolutely. I agree 1000%. So how did you choose your surgeon? So you had so many options to choose from. So what made you go with Dr. Courtney?
So I had sat down and had consultations with 4 or 5 different plastic surgeons. And I highly recommend anybody to do that, because it's kind of like dating. You don't really know what you like and what you don't like, especially based on your certain stage of life that you're in or your specific concerns and whatnot, until you really kind of experiment a little bit. And, you get to know the sort of the bedside manner, the demeanor of a surgeon, their approach, how like aggressive they say that they can be, what kind of results that they say that they can deliver. And you start to notice what the similarities are and then what the outliers are. And then, if you take good notes along the way, and of course, if you're spending this kind of money, you really should be doing your research, especially in-person research, and just see like who makes you feel the most comfortable at the end of the day. And it was above and beyond, without a doubt, for me, Dr. Courtney. And I felt so comfortable with him, confident in him, that he had, seen situations like mine before, that he had a great game plan, but also was willing to be flexible enough that he was willing to make changes on the fly in the OR. And I felt confident and comfortable enough in him that I was, that I could grant him that permission too. For example, I was kind of in between whether I needed a breast lift or not. And so I said, look, my only request is that, you can consider both options while I'm under and on the table. And so sure enough, he had tried like just putting the implant in, and then sat me up and had, himself and a couple of the others in the room say, okay, y'all, what do you think? And it was, a unanimous decision, of course, while I'm conked out.
Wow. Oh my
what they should do. And so they, went with the implant instead of doing the breast lift. I mean, and after breastfeeding 2 kids, it's a lot. The changes down there, but he selected the implant that would be best for me based on all of those factors. And so, I mean, it would have been more money for him if he would have done the lift, right? That's an additional cost.
Yeah.
But he did what was best for me. And so I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's amazing. And being in this world for like a year and a half and meeting different surgeons, there's a lot that I would have just not even lifted you up for a review. They just would have said, oh, this is going to make me more money. She told me I could. So boom, boom,
Yeah.
That's so amazing. How was your recovery? I know that you had your breast done before, but this time you had scar revision, liposuction. Was there anything about it that surprised you that you weren't expecting?
Well, I did actually have some complications. So I feel story of my life is if it can happen, it's going to happen to me. And that's just how it is. And I have like a pretty easygoing personality. And so I know my body, but I also, and so I'm aware and attuned to things, but also I kind of accept that if something crazy and off is going to happen, it's going to happen to me. So like I did deal with some seroma stuff with my mini tummy tuck. And so, my advice to people would always be, yourself better than anyone else. And if something's really bothering you, then like you have to be your own best advocate. Now, I mean, Dr. Courtney was fabulous in working with me through all of that process. And so it's like really not that big of a deal to have, to drain longer or to drain out a seroma or something. You never want that stuff to happen, but it does happen. And every body is different. So that was, of course, none of it's like ideal and perfect, but once you just make it through that little part, it's like, it is what it is.
How long did it take your seroma to pass through, do you think, if you can recall?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I feel like I was in the throes of things for a couple of weeks there because it just like came back, and it just came back. And then there was kind of like a little area above my belly button that was red. And so it's like, you just have to really keep an eye on that stuff. And then I don't know if my body was just tired, but I'd done, multiple different antibiotics and then eventually had a reaction to the antibiotics. So it was like,
Seroma, reaction to
Yeah.
antibiotics.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show like all those things happen and you would never notice from your photos, you would never
No.
notice from your body, I mean, anything, but it does happen, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and that's why, you have to know to the best of your ability the potential risks, of course, going into something. And I always say, like, knowledge is power. That doesn't mean that you should let it scare you off from doing something. It's just you need to know, like, okay, this is something that could potentially happen. If I do see these signs, then this is what I do.
Right. And I think that it was great that you had a great relationship with your surgeon.
Mhm.
Because sometimes what women will do is they'll see these signs and then be like, oh, it'll pass. And they don't talk to their surgeon about it.
Yeah. No, I was very communicative with him, and it would always be like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but but I mean, it's why you want to have a great relationship with a surgeon, with the PA, with the front desk, and generally speaking, if you're a nice person, it's not too hard to be able to build those connections pretty quickly. After all, they are caring for you and your health and well-being, so it's worth it.
And not all of them, but the good ones, like Dr. Courtney, like they care that you have the best experience.
Oh, Courtney would be checking on me all the time, and during this whole experience, my dog unexpectedly passed away and they sent me cookies. It was just like they knew. They're like, oh my gosh, Keli, you're going through so much, on all the levels. And knowing that, like, single mom, and I'm trying to, for the first few days, didn't have my kids at home, but, that I'm like trying to balance all my responsibilities as a single mother and my health, and then losing our family pet. It was just like, it was a lot going on, but that's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's worth, at the end of the day, it's worth it. I mean, the only reason I even think about that experience today, now almost 2 years later, because it was actually December 30th when I had my surgery.
Wow.
So we are coming up on the 2-year anniversary. Yeah, the only reason I even think about that is just based on the question of, did you have any complications?
Yeah.
That's a long distant memory that, is very, very worth it.
Yeah. And I that's why I always touch on that, because I want people to know who are listening or watching that it does happen, that complications do happen, but it doesn't mean it should keep you from having the surgery, or having an optimistic attitude that you can have a better result. And one of the reasons that I created POP was to be able to get people mentally prepared for that on a one-on-one basis. You had to go through that and you did very well on your own, but I can tell you're so mentally strong. There are some people that, that would just totally take them out. Mm-hmm. Like, one thing after another.
Yeah.
They're just like, I'm out.
Yeah. Feeling done. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have, like, one of my great girlfriends, Rachel, she is, a trained nurse. Her husband is an ER surgeon. And so, like, I was also asking them for a second opinion, during some of those, questionable moments. And, it also, I would say, is super important in those first, depending on what surgery you're having or procedure you're having, and there's those first 3 to 5 days, if not 7 days, to have close friends or, someone who you can really, really count on. But I would say ideally multiple people, so they don't wear out.
Right.
But they're there to help you, especially when it comes to, like, logging your medication and, counting, like, if you have a drain, counting the amount of fluid that's being taken out, stuff like that. Because it's a lot for you yourself to handle in that moment. There's no way that you can remember all of that stuff. But if you have people that are around you that are helping you, get out of bed and move around and make you some, I don't know, oatmeal with fruit or something.
Yeah.
It's important.
No, absolutely. And so many people are like, no, I'm just going to go have surgery like by myself. You can't do it by yourself. And if you're not, like, for me, I'm not going to have friends, but I did hire like a care team because I'm having surgery February 26th and I'm going to be gone for 6 weeks. Yeah, I'm doing my mommy makeover because baby's been born now so I'm doing tummy tuck, lipo, mini BBL, body tight, all that good stuff. I'm going to get my teeth redone.
I was going to say, your teeth look fabulous.
Thank you. I got these done maybe 3 years ago, but I'm going to get all my everything done.
You're going to go for the bottoms. I would really like the bottoms too.
Yeah. I am the product. So I would love for you, there's going to be there's different kinds of men and women watching this that either are having their surgery, which I think we talked about a lot for those people. But what about the people that are like, I would like to have my surgery, but I'm scared, or I don't know what my friends will think? Talk to them for me.
Okay, so first of all, I say YOLO. You only live once.
Yes.
So when my friends ask me this, I would say, if you got a problem, I'll solve it. Like,
do it.
And so that's the thing, is that like, there are options for you. If there is something that bothers you, I guarantee you there's a way to fix it.
Yes.
And so imagine your life. What if you didn't have to think about that thing that you were self-conscious about anymore, that bothered you anymore? Like, how much mental space and creativity and love and enjoyment, like, could you open up your brain and your life to be able to have? I say there's, no shame in this game. If it's something that you've researched, that you feel strongly about, I wouldn't say doing it on a whim. But if there's something that has bothered you for quite some time and there's a way to fix it, do it.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know that this is going to resonate with so many people. And if you're watching or listening today and you'd like to learn more about Keli, you can go visit her on Keli R on Instagram. We're going to put her links in the caption if you want to go investigate her. Or if you're a possible brand connection that loves her personality and would love to see her represent your brand. She's amazing. I can say she's done some things for Pop, and we just absolutely love her here. And if you know someone who's going on their surgery journey, please share this podcast with them. We just want to share real stories so people can have some real perspective when they're going on their journey. And I think that's it. Thank you so much, Keli.
Thank you so much, Laura. It is totally my pleasure to be with you. I find, even though we haven't met in person, I just find you to be such a shining ray of light. And I hope I get to hug you one of these days. For sure.
Well, I'm going to be in Houston and just in like a little under 2 months, right before I go for my surgery, I'm coming to Houston. So I'll hug you.
Amazing.
We're going to hug.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time and for, all of the information that you're sharing with all the folks out there and the encouragement that you're giving them to live their best life too.
Thank you so much. And we will see you next time on Pop Podcast. Bye.